President Joe Biden recently signed several executive orders on guns. Orders some critics say violate the Second Amendment. The orders, among other things, earmark money for violence reduction programs, further regulate assault weapons, and enact new rules for ghost guns. The goal of some of the orders is to close loopholes. Stephanie Liebergen takes a look at some of the loopholes that exist today.
Gun background check loopholes are again up for debate on Capitol Hill.
These gaps make it too easy for felons, abusers, and mentally unstable people to get their hands on guns and harm others.
So what are the loopholes that currently exist in the country's background check system?
The gun show and internet loopholes are two of the most frequently mentioned. Federally licensed firearms dealers are required to run buyers through a background check for every sale, regardless of where that sale is completed. Private and unlicensed sellers don't face that same requirement, so they can sell firearms at gun shows or online without doing a background check. And even gun rights advocates recognize the rise of internet gun sales could be problematic.
Even though we know this is not how most criminals are getting their guns, it is a fairly easy avenue that they could potentially go through.
The Charleston loophole is linked to how long it takes to complete a background check. Federal law gives the National Instant Criminal Background Check System 3 days to process an application for a new firearm. If the check is still pending 3 days later, the sale can proceed. The Charleston loophole is named for the Emmanuel AME church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina, where the shooter bought his gun after that 3-day waiting period expired.
It's good in the long run for everyone if the ATF and the FBI have the manpower and the resources to get them done in a timely manner and to keep the system updated.
In general, a felony conviction of any kind or a misdemeanor conviction for domestic violence prohibits someone from buying a gun. Lawmakers want to add more misdemeanors to that list.
Senator Amy Klobuchar has been calling for Congress to close the boyfriend loophole, which allows some people convicted of misdemeanor domestic violence to still purchase a gun.
The House already passed a bill requiring background checks on all firearm sales and transfers, with a few exceptions. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has promised to bring that bill to the floor for a vote, but it would likely need to be amended if it has any chance of passing the Senate.
Another question surrounding President Biden's executive orders on guns is whether or not they violate the Second Amendment. We found out exactly what the Constitution says about the right to bear arms.
It's the middle of the night. Everyone's asleep, but the sounds of an intruder breaks the silence and jolts this person awake. As they approach the commotion, handgun in hand, the culprit comes into focus. A raccoon, thumping against the house as it rifles through trash. While this scenario didn't end up being dangerous, the person who sensed a threat grabbed their handgun for self-defense, just in case. It's a familiar scene across the U.S. More than 2/3 of gun owners say they got their firearm for protection, a right widely seen as being guaranteed under the Second Amendment. The framers wrote, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Their intent has been up for debate since the ink dried in 1791, according to historians. With the Revolutionary War still fresh, the founders wrote the Second Amendment to make sure states could maintain militias that could fight off any invasion by a tyrannical government. Fast forward to today. Many gun advocates argue the Second Amendment gives individuals a blanket constitutional right to own firearms that trumps all government laws. But the Supreme Court hasn't interpreted it that way, and only ruled the amendment applies to individuals rather than state militias in 2008. In that case, the court ruled the Second Amendment gives most individuals the right to have a reasonable gun at home for self-defense. But the justices emphasized, Second Amendment rights are not unlimited. Looking ahead, the legal interpretation of the Second Amendment could expand again, soon. The Supreme Court is set to decide by the end of the year whether to take a case that asks whether people have a Second Amendment right to carry a gun in public.
Our conversation on guns continues. You're watching The Race.